What's up, everybody? It's me. I'm back with another review, and today I'm talking about the new album, the sixth studio album from Marina called Princess of Power. And I've been a Marina supporter since I first heard Oh No in 2010. I remember seeing that video and the song stuck in my head afterwards for a long time. And what I like about Marina is that her voice sounds unusual. She has a certain imperfection and weirdness in her voice that I like, because sometimes she sings in a high-pitched opera type style. That sometimes sounds like a parody to me, but that makes it interesting because there's a mix between seriousness and playfulness in her voice. And musically, she's always walked a fine line between indie and pop. So she embodied aspects of both worlds. She's not a typical pop singer, but her music isn't underground either. So I guess she's the definition of an indie pop artist. Let's go back in history a little bit. This is her first album. The Family Jewels came out in 2010. It also says newcomer 2010. And it features songs like I'm Not a Robot, Obsessions, Hollywood. I think this was a breakthrough song, Hollywood. Oh No, yeah, and some other songs. And then in 2012, she followed up with this one, Electra Heart. Came out in 2012, and it's got stuff like Bubblegum Bitch, fun song. Prima Donna, I think that this was her first #1 single, I think it was. I'm not sure whether it was her first #1 single in the UK or first #1 album, but I think she reached the #1 spot in the UK with, either the single or the album, but whatever. Lies, Homewrecker, Power and Control, and ironically, although this is the deluxe edition, it doesn't feature How to Be a Heartbreaker, which I think is the biggest hit in the US. I'm not sure, but I've read some comments that this was a very popular song in the US. So, Electra Heart came out in 2012, and I think this was also the album where she collaborated more with other people, so because in 2015 she followed up with this one, Fruit, and this was the album where she wrote every song solely. So, and this is pretty much my favorite album: Happy, Fruit, I'm a Ruin, Blue, Forget, Gold, Can't Pin Me Down, Solitaire, Better Than That, Weeds, Savages. Savages is a great song. Check out Savages, because it's actually, sadly enough, still relevant. So especially what's going on in the world today, with wars and stuff. So Immortal, and I think this is her. This was a top 10 album in the US. So Fruit. And then she took a break a little bit, and because then her next album came out 4 years later, called Love and Fear. It came out in 2019. This was her first album where Marina dropped the name and the Diamonds. To be honest, it's always a strange thing to change her name after a certain amount of time, because I guess she has her reasons, but there are a lot of Marinas out there, so the chance of someone knowing her immediately by that name alone is pretty slim, whereas Marina and the Diamonds stands out a bit more. So, and I've heard that The Weeknd wants to continue his career under his real name, Abel or whatever, which I also don't think is a smart move, considering he's had hits. And everybody knows that brand, The Weeknd. Everybody knows who he is. So I'm not sure whether that is a smart move, to change your name after all these years, So, and you're not Prince, So even that was, I don't know, wasn't necessary, I think, to change Prince into Symbol and go back to Prince again. But anyway. Then in 2021, she followed up with Ancient Dreams in a Modern World. And this was her last album before this one came out. So I'm talking about this album, Princess of Power. Let's go. All the songs were written by Marina, and most of them were co-written by C.J. Barron, an American songwriter slash producer who also co-produced the whole album. And it starts with the title track, and after the few bars you immediately recognize her voice. It's so distinctive. The second track is Butterflies. It was released as the first single, and what I like about this song is the high-pitched childlike vocals and the multiple vocal layers in the chorus. I like that kind of thing. So I like vocal harmonies. So yeah, I think it's fantastic. The next track is another single, and it's called Cantissimo, spelled with a C-U-N-T and then Isimo. Marina explains that the song was inspired by iconic women in history who embodied the qualities of strength, pleasure, and independence. Hence the double meaning of the title, because Kant, if you're an adult, you know what that word means, right? But Cantissimo, spelled with C-A-N-T, isimo, is a musical term that implies a high level of vocal artistry. So, but yeah, Cantissimo. I like that double meaning. It's hilarious. In the next track, Roller Coaster, she talks about wanting to ride a roller coaster and swim topless in the ocean, have sex on the sand, on the grass, and in the garden. Why not? The fifth track is the second single, Cupid's Girl. It has another one of those playful moments, but I'm not too crazy about the whole song. The next track is the first slow song on the album, called Metallic Stallion, and I think it's a welcome change. I think it has a dreamy vibe, and I like the strings towards the end. The next tracks are all about stages of dating or love life, like Fears in Je ne sais quoi, fantasies in Digital Fantasy, and missed opportunities in Everybody Knows I'm Sad. And these songs are decent, but not spectacular in my opinion. Maybe I need a little more time to get into them. Hello Kitty is another slow song, and the first time on the album that a guitar is more prominent than synthesizer sounds, which I think is lovely. So I think sometimes there's too much of those synthesizer sounds, so it's nice to hear some guitar for a change. Track 11 is I Love You, and it's got pretty much the catchiest chorus on the whole album. I love you. Da, 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 da. It's so bubbly, but I dig it. And also the spoken word part in the second verse, which reminds me of the spoken word part in Vogue. Don't just stand there, let's get to it, strike a pose, there's nothing to it, Vogue. So you remember that song, right? So I like this song. Yeah, I Love You, one of my favorites on the album. Marina recently said in an interview that this album is her most personal, and of course many artists say something like that. Many artists say this is my best album ever, or my most personal, but at least the song Adult Girl reflects that. Marina will be 40 this year, so sometimes you forget how long some artists have been around. In her case it's 15 years, because obviously the Family Jewels came out in 2010, and Fruit came out 10 years ago. Jeez. But yeah, it's got a nostalgia vibe to it, and she talks about her past, and yeah, she looks back and talks about that, and yeah, that she's a woman now, or adult girl. The last track is Final Boss, and it closes the album perfectly. The first song is the title track, Princess of Power, and the last line of Final Boss is Game Over, so it makes sense. So this is the booklet, and it's got all the lyrics, just in case you're interested, for all the CD collectors out there. This is art, so with some artwork, photos. There you go, there she is. Here's another one. So you got the credits and the thank you notes. So bottom line, there are enjoyable moments on the album, but the album as a whole doesn't grab me yet. Some of the songs are overproduced, I think. Some of the songs would have been more interesting sonically with more real instrumentation. So, and I don't know, there's certain magic missing. That's the same thing I criticized about Ellie Goulding's last album. There's too much of those synthesizer sounds and electronic beats, and I think it would have been lovely to have more of real drum sounds, or even more guitars. Anyway, overall, it's not a spectacular album, not terrible by any means, but it's decent. So, and yeah, maybe I need a little bit more time to really get into this album. But yeah, like I said, there are some songs that I enjoy, like Cantissimo. Even though I'm not really too crazy about the arrangement, it's got that techno vibe going on. But yeah, it's just for the double meaning alone. Yeah. Then yeah, Butterfly, yeah, I enjoy that. Yeah, I Love You. So yeah, there are some songs that I really enjoy so far, and yeah, maybe I get a little bit more into the other songs as well. So, but yeah, I think it's a fine album, Marina, Princess of Power. This was my album review of Marina, Princess of Power. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, give me a thumbs up, leave a comment, or subscribe to my channel. I would appreciate it. And thanks for watching. Bye.